What do we learn from this? So we just put in 6 months. Where are we from where we started, do you think?
Well, I mean, from a COVID standpoint, I mean, they were able to escape. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. The NFL really escaped, basically unscathed. You had a couple different reschedulings that you had to go through. We're not through it all. They were able to learn from their PR, from putting all of the different first responders in the stadium for the Super Bowl, so they understand that PR. They're still continuing the social justice, efforts that they said that they would commit to. So they're doing that. When we're talking about the end of the NFL season, the quarterbacks are really wanting more control over the teams. Well, that's what I find to be interesting about this. A lot of quarterbacks are more vocal, and I'll start with Aaron Rodgers, who is absolutely right when he said, "I need more help offensively." Goes out, wins MVP, goes to the NFC Championship game, loses to Tampa. I mean, you're seeing a lot more quarterbacks, a lot more vocal, and taking a lot more leadership and control over the personnel. That's what I see in the NFL.
I think between Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson now has most recently come out that says Rodgers to me sounded like a whiner. I was got Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and a good line.
Thank you. Right? I mean, look, I think your point. To your point, Tariq, it was the opposite because they did nothing to upgrade the offense. They went and drafted a quarterback high in the draft, and he still won MVP and went to the NFC Championship game, right? Like, it wasn't the fact that he needed help. It sounds like he needed a little bit of motivation because when come on, let's be real. He's got a little bit of a drama attitude problem. Oh, yeah. When he gets his Buffont in a little tizzy there, all of a sudden he plays better. Like, maybe that's on you and not on the players that you're playing with.
No, but it's interesting. About Rodgers, though, the one thing I can say is that he was right. Yes, he was upset. He was a little grumpy. He didn't like LaFleur, didn't like the offense. But look at how far they got, and imagine how far they could have gotten had they done the right thing during the draft and beyond that.
Pat, I wanted to ask you, it seemed outdated when people say defense wins championships. You've got that occurring in the NFL. At the same time, the NHL goaltending is more important in the playoffs. Baseball pitching is more important than the power hitting. It's like we get to the postseasons of these sports, and I think the most recent Super Bowl just emphasized the fact that the postseason is almost played with a different set of rules, don't you think?
I mean, I would disagree with that only because they say defense wins championships because one team has to score fewer points, right? Like the Buccaneers scored 30-something points, but if the Chiefs would have scored 30-something plus 1 points, defense wouldn't have won championships. You're going to focus on the defense because you want to watch the high-flying offense get stopped. Like in the NFL's example, the Chiefs got stopped because they're playing with three guys that were working at a truck stop on their offensive line before the game because of a bunch of different circumstances, right? And then all of a sudden, this Chiefs defense that was unbelievable against the Bills in the AFC Championship game showed up and laid an egg. I think it's more circumstantial. I think that offense wins it more often than defense does. And, I mean, let's be real. It's probably better for all the sports when it comes to entertainment, right?
Tariq, we've gone this far in the show and haven't mentioned Tom Brady's name. What were your overall impressions of how he made out of all this?
Well, I think when they tell the Tom Brady story, I think they better tell the part of when he gets in the players' faces as well, on top of the fact that he's won his seventh Super Bowl. But that being said, I think Tom Brady was right, too. I think he was right to leave New England. I think he was right to go to Tampa Bay. I think he was right when he walked into Tampa Bay and basically said, you guys are not prepared to win a championship. Let me show you how to do it. And then he goes out and actually does it.
Gonna take a shot at Tom?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's really hard to do what he does when he's put into a situation with the best players in the league every single time he walks out on the field. Hey, tip of the cap to finding the best situation ever for any NFL quarterback everywhere you go, every time. That's really tough. Way to go, buddy.
On the flip side of that, I just wanted to finish this with something that Nick Wright said on Fox Sports. He looked at it, and he was a big Kansas City guy, and he was like, just crushed by the result of the game. He broke down Tom Brady's career into thirds, and he said this guy had 3 Hall of Fame careers. If you take the first third, the second third, the third third, the credentials for each third of his career were Hall of Fame worthy. And he says, as much as he hated to admit it, he says, you're never going to see something like that again.
It's amazing, right? Like he had 3 separate Hall of Fame careers and would have had none of those Hall of Fame careers had Drew Bledsoe's spleen not been exploded by Mo Lewis, right? I mean, let's be real here. It's all circumstantial. It really makes you think how many guys that we never saw take a snap in a meaningful game in the NFL could have had the career that Tom Brady had.
And he's not done. By the way, that could be a third location for a Tom Brady trophy or a Tom Brady statue. Tampa Bay, New England, and Michigan.